Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about Gnostic spirituality, um, about spiritual fighting and self-healing, overall about topics aiding ascension in terms of knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Because we got into the discussion about karma delivery, God guided me to speak a little bit more about this topic, but from a different perspective a little bit. And God guided me to show um, certain exceptions from the rules. Yeah. By now, those who follow me consistently know that I know, and I share this with everybody, that there is no video that I make just um, for no reason. God always has somebody in mind, and He's answering certain questions or doubts or giving information to certain individuals, whom some of them I don't know, obviously. I never met them, but God tells me that He needs to communicate that to somebody. And of course, God is in charge of making sure how that individual will come across my video. So this information, I'm pretty sure, is for somebody. It's obvious. Now, God asked me to talk about exceptions from the rules. There are certain clear rules of astral, of how things are going. There is a process always in everything, and there is a time when you can make choices, but then there is a time when certain how to say, certain things are happening in astral realm, which basically don't give you choices anymore. Basically, it's sort of like this. So there is free will, of course, but for example, you have free will to choose if you want to fight or not. Yeah, you are entitled to free will. You can choose not to fight. Yeah, but karma is coming at some point. And if you chose not to fight, it doesn't mean that that particular situation or that particular person will not get solved or will not get punished, even if you don't fight. Because I've seen many individuals who are reluctant to fight against specific people only because they are attached emotionally to them, or because they feel guilty themselves about doing some harm, and then they feel cautious and fearful to claim justice, judgment, and punishment, thinking that, okay, if I claim judgment, then I will be judged as well. That's a very wrong perception, because you will be judged anyway at some point. If you did something wrong, it's better to come clean early and to fix it, do redemption, than to just sit quiet, hoping that nobody will remember you, because that is not going to happen. Equally, it doesn't matter how much you love a person. If that person has done something wrong, will be punished. Karma will be hitting home at some point, even if nobody fights. At some point, karma is simply just set in motion by the process itself. Yeah, so it's there is information which is relative. It's not 100% at all times the same. It is, of course, you do have free will, but up to a point. At some point, your free will or your choice doesn't matter anymore, because the entire divine line cannot sit idle and wait until everybody crashes down just because you don't want to say the truth, you don't want to fix the wrong you've done. Justice will be made, judgment will be done at some point. You are given chances, so you can change that, so you can make it right. But then the time comes when literally you have no choice. You cannot influence the process anymore. This is what it means. You cannot influence the process, and you literally are forced to deal with the consequences of your choices. If you chose not to fight, you will get karma. And this is just, again, a consequence of your choice. You could have chosen to do redemption, and then you wouldn't have gotten karma, or at least you would have gotten a dispense from the divine realm by doing good deeds, and your karma would have looked differently. Anyhow, another example that God asked me to give is one that I very often discussed with God, namely that, for example, you, of course, is common knowledge, you are supposed to have protection. If you're innocent, harm shouldn't be able to touch you. You are supposed to, the ones who do harm are supposed to be punished. However, we keep seeing among ourselves individuals who keep doing harm and they never get punished. So at some point you get to question, right? And God has shown to me that He's asking me to speak about this because there are people who lost faith because of this. They lost faith in God, in the divine realm, and the divine intervention. Why somebody who harmed me so badly is not being punished. And God guided me to share with you the answer that He usually gives me when I talk to Him about these situations. And for example, there is a situation in which a certain individual was doing harm constantly, 24 hours a day, for many years, more than a decade. Yeah. And they said, how come, or even I've seen karma being delivered by the divine realm after like 20 years or 30 years. And I'm like, man, how can you take this long? I don't understand you. Or why won't you punish somebody, a specific person, who's doing harm and this? And God will show me, for example, this individual, the punishment this individual deserves at this point in time would be death, because she made a lot of death attacks on many people. She killed a lot of people. She killed a lot of animals. She's doing sorcery. She's killing individuals and stealing the spirit, because she's working on necromancy and so on. So she would deserve, karma would mean that she dies. If we deliver karma to her now, she should die. Yeah, and still wouldn't be enough to pay for the harm she's done. The problem with that is that if she dies, she will become a poltergeist. That means this and this individual who have been harmed by her don't have the chance to fight back and to take the power back from her. So it's worse for us if she dies, because she is attached at this point in time to certain individuals who are fighting to clear their name, and I want this individual to get the chance to clear their name. It's important to for them to cut strings with her. It's important for them to stand up and fight for themselves, because if she dies before they succeed to do this, there will be a string between her spirit, even in the dead realm, and these individuals in 3D, which will keep them trapped. And she would be feeding from the other side on them. And they lose the chance to stand up and fight. So for this reason, this will take longer. Because I need these individuals to take their power back. I need these individuals to fight and to succeed in taking power back. I need them to see the truth. I need them to wake up. I need them, So you see, it's relative. It's relative information, because normally, if you take it simple way, it will be, okay, punish her. She's done this, then punish her. And there are situations God has shown to me a long time ago. Actually, I spoke about this previously, but God is telling me to talk about it again. So there are situations in which the rules do not apply the same way. It will happen anyhow. Karma will be delivered to her. She will be punished. But there are certain considerations which are more important than to rush the process. Depending on what an individual has done, the process of delivering karma takes longer. Simply because it's much more to be punished. Funny, huh? Yeah, it's much more to be punished in that case, you know. If again I say, if that individual will die, then it will be much harder, because she's in 4D then. It's not in, it's much simpler while she is in 3D for these individuals to fight and get justice for themselves and cut the strings so they can get free from her. But if she's in 4D, then it's much more difficult. Yeah. So again, there are exceptions from the rules, and this is why you have a karmic board which decides on these issues, because it's all a matter of strategy. This is why always God has his own strategy in each individual's life, you know. And as I said earlier, of course, you have free will to choose to not fight. But then again, there are situations in which, for example, a timeline in which you are involved, either that bondage was created on you or you are involved in somehow. If that situational karmic cycle comes to an end and karma is hitting, then you don't have time anymore to choose. Because also God has shown to me individuals who keep postponing to make a decision. But you don't have all the time in the world. You just don't. Because if the situational karmic cycle gets at the end, then karma is being delivered. Everything, it's a process. It's not, again I say, you do have free will to make choices, but you need, sometimes making a choice too late basically is just useless. It's just useless. Actually, God has shown me about previous lifetimes individuals who after a full life of doing harm onto somebody, they realized at the end the mistakes they made and how they were tricked into this and that, and how they made bad choices and so on and so forth. And they wanted to do redemption, to go to apologize and right the wrongs, and they didn't find that person anymore. So because of this, they fell. God has shown to me situations in which individuals, God showed me about a certain individual, but there were many in the same situation. He said he went to look for her, to apologize and to give back what he stole, and he couldn't find her anymore. And then he had nowhere else to go. So basically, he fell prey to the individuals who actually set him up in the first place, because he just took too long. He just didn't make decision in time. Yeah. So this is important as well. There are processes at play, and in certain situations, literally just things come together, and you don't really have a choice. You have free will, but you actually don't have time. It's sort of like that, you know. And it's very important to make sure that because in every timeline there are certain things and certain forces which are launched, and sometimes it's a matter of seconds, minutes. You need to make a decision, because then it's too late. I mean, of course you can make a decision later, but somebody will die, or you will lose something, or things will happen meanwhile, and just a few minutes later it will be too late. it happened to me as well, you know. So this is why it's extremely important that you are observant at all times, and ask guidance at all times. I ask guidance every single minute if I have to, but because I've lived through very traumatic situations in which, including, I lost very dear souls to me, and it was just matter of minutes. Decisions that were, if were taken a little bit earlier, would have saved lives, literally. Yeah. Okay. So this is about the exceptions from the rules. I cannot give you examples of all exceptions. Yeah. This is why it's important that everybody does the work, everybody does the fight, because each of us has a certain purpose. Each of us has certain information and knowledge that has to discover. So there's many information out there, and I cannot give you examples of everything, not even everything that I know, because God gives me examples and all this information a long time. And if he doesn't allow me to share it publicly, then sometimes I don't remember it in an instant like that, you know. But you can find everything in Akashic Records in my file, the one that I made for the spiritual fighting, where I share information. I always take notes about everything, and there again, it's information also about healing, self-healing of different type of attacks, how you work with the energy in order to heal certain things, what food you eat for healing certain things. There's a lot of information. Everything that I learn, I share there. And once again, I mention the divine realm is the one who decides to how much information from my file you can learn. If the divine realm doesn't want to share that information with you, then you won't see it. Now, another thing that God asked me to talk about, because we have been talking about delivering karma and about free will choices to fight or not to fight, and doing redemption or not doing redemption. Now, God asked me also to share about Ascension. God showed me that people don't really have clear understanding of this timing of Ascension. This is an exception. This is not a normal status. I said this previously. Not all generations witnessed or benefited from general global Ascension. Every individual had the chance to ascend at all times in all lifetimes. There were individuals who ascended anonymously, because that was a time when spirituality was not so publicly shared, but there were certain individuals who ascended. I have ancestors who ascended, and they were in my lifetime. So I have ancestor who actually raised me for a while, and he ascended during communist time, but they did not enjoy what we have today, what is a global ascension. What does it mean? It means that there are certain things which are in motion, and because of multiple people who ascended before, the vibration, every bondage breaking raises the vibration on earth. Yeah. And it's a general process for everyone. There are certain timelines of ancient bondages. This is what Ascension means right now. This is what God decided to do, because there are certain timelines of ancient bondages which were created, of course, in ancient times, and led to the creation of the 3D, what we are experiencing. Yeah. Now, these were activated again. These timelines of ancient bondages are right now activated as parallel timelines. They are unfolding, not right now in this very moment, but for some years now. Yeah, it's not just about now today. It's been happening. There is some sort of throat chakra attack in this very second on me. It's unfolding for some years, not just now. Like, for example, I was in Jerusalem in 2012 and 2014, and God showed me that every time in 2012 I went and I got communion, and in 2014 the same. And God has shown to me that it was I went at the what they call the holy grave, and I got communion every time. That was the time when I was still going to church, and I was very much innocent and didn't know what the church does. But God showed me that every time I got an activation, because that was already unfolding at the time. Yeah, timelines of ancient bondages which led to the creation of 3D were activated as parallel timelines. We are all living that, so we know, for years now. What happens is that you, as you elevate and you increase your energy awareness, you get the chance to break the bondage. If you do spiritual fighting, you get the chance to deliver karma, you elevate, and you ascend. Yeah, this is the one choice that you have, the free will that you have. But you can choose not to, like many do. Now, what you need to understand is that these timelines were activated because there is a process, and this is a time when these bondages expire. The dark forces which were created, we used to create these bondages, are I don't know how to say, basically at this point they receive karma. So it's a time of karma delivery by the system, let's say, by the system. So it doesn't matter anymore at the end of the day your choice for the global outcome, because karma is gonna hit anyhow. Yeah, because this is the process, this is the timeline, this is the time the bondage is expired, and at this point in time judgment from the divine realm is upon them. Yeah. Of course, it does matter if you make a choice to fight, because as I said, if you do, then you take advantage of all of this happening around us, and you elevate and ascend. That it matters for you as an individual, but it doesn't matter on global level. It means, let me rephrase that. It does matter on global level, because if you fight, then you help this process. And of course it will be rewarded, but it doesn't matter in the sense that even if you choose not to, still the process is going to develop, and still karma is going to be hitting. Yeah, so the outcome will be the same. You cannot stop the outcome. You can help the outcome, and then of course that will be appreciated by the divine realm and rewarded. Yeah. Now, basically, this is unfolding. This is happening. Now, your choice, it will determine on which side of the barricade you are. If you're fighting next to God and you're with the divine realm, or if you're sitting idle and waiting for things to unfold, then you will suffer the consequences of that, because there are a lot of individuals who are enrolled in the matrix. They are fighting against the divine realm and against God, and if you don't stand up for yourself to take your power back, you must understand that you are literally like in a war situation, in a combat zone, and you just sit idle and you say, I don't do anything. Okay, you don't, but then you might get shot by others. It's your choice, you decide. But you can take your power back if you decide to fight. That's the point, you know. Of course, God wants you to make it and to fight, you know. But if you decide not to, the process is going forward anyway. You must understand. And I'll give you one example from 3D life to make it more clear what all this means. I already made video and explained about Yalta agreement, which was done after the World War, yeah, whereby leaders of the world negotiated a balance of power and divided power among themselves, and a stalemate situation basically was enforced, where the world was divided, yeah. I explained there that Yalta was a negotiation, and that splitting the world and all of these decisions was based on bondages created on individuals, yeah, and contracts signed on certain individuals, yeah. I already explained this. Now, all of this expired. All of these arrangements and agreements, all of them has expired. And the bondages created to support this energetically, literally harvesting and feeding and all of that, and stealing rights and all of that, all expired. The dark forces used literally are at the point where you either recreate those bondages and you feed the beasts, or the beast goes wild, yeah. So this is the process. It's not a matter of deciding or choosing. This process is unfolding. Now, in 3D, what you had, and can explain, since 2005, you had Putin, Russia's president, asking for a new world order. This is what it means. Yeah, this is the on policy level new world order. But in reality, what happens is the bondages which were negotiated and sold, the contracts were sold between different countries and different leaders for them to stay in power and to dominate certain parts of the world, expired, literally expired. So it's necessary for them to renew them, yeah. But because of a lot of hidden bondages, now it became very complicated for them to negotiate. And they are facing now the consequences of all the hidden bondages, all the betrayals, and they are now learning the hard way about all of them, yeah. Now, since 2005, Putin keeps asking about a new world order. The West refused constantly. This was one of the topics on which I worked, actually. Russia suspended many treaties of armament control and so on for this reason, literally, yeah. Now, the West, so I had this discussion in my office for long times, and I kept pointing out to different idiots who were in public positions, and I kept saying, listen to me, if you don't accept to renegotiate and to rediscuss all of this, you must understand that this is going to get into conflict. This is going to go to a conflict. They never believed it. But then, soon afterwards, Putin started wars in the region. In 2008, you had Georgia, and since then, a couple of times you had Ukraine in war situation. And it will be more. Yeah, I'm saying this again. Yalta was the end of the World War. Yeah, and this is the timeline, which and the conjunction moment, which is now reactivated. Yeah, because all of those bondages which they created at the time expired. Okay. So this is happening as we are speaking. This is unfolding, and you don't really have a choice. You cannot stop it. You can help this process to become more just, and for divine justice to be delivered easier or faster, or you can help in many ways. I don't even know exactly how each can help, but you cannot stop the process. Yeah, you cannot determine if the process will take place or not. It's taking place. And the example I chose is specifically pointing out to us to this. Again, since 2005, Putin keeps asking about a new world order systematically. And then in 2007, he started one by one suspending different treaties, implementation of different treaties. He started, and a lot of those who work in security matters are very much aware that it's been a snowball effect. And since then, a lot of arrangements which were in place and were ensuring the balance of power and the stability of the system are now outdated and challenged by different political leaders. That includes EU, for example, which is seen by different leaders in different ways to go forward and so on. Yeah. Again, this is happening around us, and we are part of this process. It's not just around us. This is happening in our lives. And I made video about the parallel timelines, so I invite you to go back and look at it to understand that if you do not want to become again victim of a bondage, or even worse, if you don't want to become a victim of these imbeciles transferring karma to you, then you should be fighting for yourself, because this happens. As you fight and they get karma, they seek to transfer karma to other individuals, so they get free. Yeah, and this is extremely important to understand, because you're gonna end up paying that karma. Okay, justice will be done to you at some point, but until you get justice, first you get their karma. They've done this all along. They have certain procedures, and I've seen it with my own eyes how they actually work in many different ways. Yeah. I think I shared with you everything that God wanted me to share. Now again, it's this is the process. God basically just wanted me to share this, that it's Ascension is on individual level, and there you have the free will, but then it's on global level. On that one, you don't have free will to influence. You have free will to help if you want, through your own work and spiritual fighting, but you cannot stop it. So if you think that you can put everything on hold so you don't have to make a decision, you're dead wrong. You cannot do that. Yeah. And I gave this example with Russia and the wars in the region. So because everybody nowadays complains, well, Russia is irrational, Russia is starting a war. No, excuse me. Experts in the field know that we had this coming. We all in the security matters warned politicians that this is gonna come. They just refuse to make decisions. This is one of the topics on which I had so many fights in my office because of this. And they refuse to make decisions. And basically, I warned specific individuals, this is gonna happen. And I even warned them, and I said, it's not just that Russia will start war, but you corner it into, you push it in a corner in which Putin will see it as the only way to save face. Because you keep refusing proposals they make, you don't make proposal back, you don't engage in, and this is a new, this new world order that Putin is requesting. It is now under reconsideration, simply because all the arrangements are outdated, indeed. And he was mostly referring to bondages and contracts done on individuals. Yeah, and the issue is that at some point he's gonna figure that basically only war can actually help him save face in this situation, and you're gonna have to answer that. And of course, now the war started in 2008 with Georgia, right? And then you had all sorts of political leaders, national or even at international organizations, right? Who keep saying, we are so surprised that Russia invaded Ukraine. Why the fuck are you surprised, man? Where the fuck were you for the last 20 years? You didn't see it coming. How come? Putin himself warned that he's gonna do this. So how you didn't see that coming? How you didn't understand? That's another question. Now, I guess my video, of course, is not watched by political leaders, but I'm warning anyone that is actually watching this video to understand, because I've seen this happening, and this will happen again. Namely, people that will ignore, refuse, and deny to make a decision, but to understand that many times it's too late to make a decision anymore. And you're gonna get in situations in which you're gonna be faced with the consequences of you not making the decision, which in itself means that you allow for things to unfold, for others to influence the outcome. Yeah, I was never hesitant to make decisions in my life ever, simply because I always thought, if I don't make a decision, somebody else will influence the outcome. So I prefer to make a decision and to be maybe making a mistake, but at least it's my mistake, and then I fix it. I know how to fix it if it's my mistake. Then to have to be faced with something imposed by others who decided something which I will not agree with, but then you don't have a legitimacy to complain against it if you did not step up to the plate and you didn't stand up on your feet to make a decision. Yeah? Okay. I'm not gonna go further. 37 minutes, that's long enough. I hope everything is clear, and if not, just ask questions in the comments.